Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the Middle East and Beyond. I'm Barry Stagner, coming to you from a very beautiful and sunny Southern California, and as always, here with my friend and brother, Amir Sarfati, coming from the Galilee, the Jezreel Valley specifically. Amir, shalom to you.
Shalom, Pastor Barry. It's good to see you again. And it's a beautiful evening. We had a wonderful sunny day as well here. And can't wait to delve into our program today.
Well, we've got a lot, morning voice over here. Got a lot to talk about today. A couple of stories related to the subject that we covered just this past Monday on the roundtable with our dear friend Jan Markell. And we talked about AI and its role in the last days, especially as it relates to the tribulation period. But the IDF is now involving this in their strategies for the future and even revolutionizing future combat. So, Mir, maybe you can tell us what that's all about regarding AI and its employment by the IDF.
So basically, during our program this past Monday, we talked about the fact that AI can be used for good things and important things. And after all, it's a technological revolution such as the .com in the 80s and the social media in the 2000s. We're going through this one now. But of course, like everything else, technology can be used for evil purposes. And the enemy is using it and will be using it in a greater scope, especially during the tribulation. We also alluded to the fact that the events of Revelation 13 could be actually possible, very much so, with technology that AI is propelling. But the IDF just unveiled, I would say early this morning, a 5-year plan to basically use AI technology with robots, space things, and other defensive manners and measures. And AI, it was all about Israel is now creating an AI, what we call AI core. And the robotic part of it is going to be very, very important. It'll help us in many different parts of warfare. Now, the robots will help us in the battleground, but AI technologies will help us also in electronic warfare, in space, and other things. In Gaza, we already, as you can see on the screen, we already use robots. We already use unmanned vehicles with AI in intelligence or AI, assisted machine guns and other things. We use under the ground also. We use robots in the shape of dogs, believe it or not, that were not only hunting the terrorists but also making sure that we can see what this tunnel has before the actual soldiers arrive. We also use it from the air. We also use it online. So this is a new thing. It's a growing thing, and the IDF is moving full force forward. Not only that we're doing that, but we're also exporting these military technologies to other countries as well. And the Ministry of Defense is showing our capabilities in some security and defense security exhibits around the world. And a lot of countries are actually very interested in it. But again, as we said, AI can also be used for evil things. And one of the things that AI is now replacing is search engines. People no longer go to just Google to search for things. They just go directly to AI because it is way faster and way more comprehensive. The problem is, as much as it's intelligence, it's a bit dumb because it only bases its information on information that people write on different social media and websites. And so what happened is, if you have enough people that spreads a lie, AI will believe it's the truth, And then if an innocent person wants to check if something is true or false, AI will give him the wrong information based on the tremendous number of people that spread the lie and made it look like it's the right answer. And our next topic, before we move to it, is influenced by this very phenomena of AI giving people wrong information. And that is, of course, you can actually change history. You can actually change events, the outcome of events, or the reason and of those events. And I'll take you all the way back to the year 628 AD, when Muhammad, with his small group of followers, were in the city of Medina, and the Quraysh tribe, pagan Quraysh tribe in Mecca, was very strong, and Muhammad wanted to have a peace deal. And they went to a city nearby Mecca called Hudaybiyah. They signed a treaty in 628, that a treaty for 10 years, that they will not attack one another. And that treaty weakened the mutual defense agreement between the Quraysh tribe in Mecca and the Jewish tribe in the city of Haybar. And when that happened, Muhammad went first to Haybar, killed all the Jews, and a year later attacked the Quraysh tribe and killed them. In other words, the idea was to sign a treaty until your enemy is weak. And once your enemy is weak, you don't wait until the treaty is expired. You go immediately and attack. And that is, of course, why I mentioned that, because now, on our next topic, the Shiites admit, one of the most popular Lebanese Shiite Telegram channel owner, basically wrote that that the Ayatollahs better reach a deal just like Muhammad did with the Jews or with the Quraysh tribe. What is he saying? He's saying, let the Ayatollahs sign a treaty with the U.S. It will get the U.S. off their back, and when the time comes, they can attack. Exactly as Muhammad did with the Jews in Haybar and with the Quraysh tribe in Mecca. And so, why am I saying that? Because now all the Muslims already changed the Wikipedia and websites and everything. If you go now to the Hudaybiyah Treaty, you will find out that it's not Muhammad who violated the treaty, but it's the Quraysh tribe. So now they changed history. If you did it 3 years ago, websites and Wikipedia will tell you that Muhammad did. But now they're changing history, and AI is assisting them. And so you can imagine, Pastor Barry, I'm telling people something, they go and try to fact check it, and they come back to me and say, you're wrong. Why am I wrong? Because somebody worked very hard to change everything. AI believe it, and now they present it as the right answer. So it's very interesting to see that, but I am telling the President of the United States, do not for a second believe a word that the Ayatollahs are saying. They do not need nuclear energy. They do not need that. And if you need nuclear energy, you buy, if it's just 5% enriched, 3 to 5%, you can buy it. You don't need to enrich it yourself. And if it's only up to 5%, why do you enrich it to 20, 40, 60? Obviously, why do you need long-range missiles when, if you want to defend yourself from ground invasion, you need missiles that will hit 50, 100, 200, 300 kilometers. That's it. Why do you need 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 kilometers? Because it's Israel and Europe and America shortly that you want to hit. So my point is, they may say we don't want nuclear weapon, but their actions are louder than their words. And everything they did in the last few years proves that they actually not just want nuclear weapon, but actively working on it day and night. So I'm just saying, they might sit tomorrow in Geneva and tell President Trump, we don't want nuclear weapon. But as soon as they say, but we do want to enrich uranium, we do want to keep our uranium that we have, and we do want long-range ballistic missiles, that says it all. So it's going to be a very interesting weekend ahead of us. In fact, the most interesting weekend we've had in many years.
Yeah, Amir, very possible that this could be kind of a turning point weekend, if you will. You know, the time frame that Trump has laid out is coming to an end. And again, just the continual rhetoric, if you will, that comes out of Iran. And, you know, it's interesting, Amir, in light of what you were saying a moment ago, you know, I was searching for, you know, taqiyya and how that applies in Islam. And basically, Islam states that, you know, they're lying. It's not something that they encourage. They should be truthful people. And, you know, taqiyya is basically permission to lie if you're in defense of Islam or expanding Islam. And now the search engines are telling you that taqiyya is simply the ability to deny that you are a Muslim if it's going to spare your life. And what you're sharing with us about the treaty betrayal is says exactly the opposite. So, you know, the evidence is already out there that this data collection device called ChatGPT or any other is just that. It's collecting information from what humans have shared.
Exactly.
And Amir, I'm sure that all were interested in what Trump had to say regarding the Middle East during the State of the Union address last night. And I have to say, as an American, much of it was very embarrassing. The behavior of the Democrats, and you know that the fact that Rashida Tlaib would wear profanity on a button that was visible on camera, talking about ICE and using an expletive that I will not share, but how shameful was her behavior, as well as Ilhan Omar, especially when the subject came up about Somalia and the billions of US dollars that have been wasted. And, you know, just a sad, sad day for America, even though I thought the speech was great. One thing that I took out of that whole event, that record-breaking length of a State of the Union address, an hour and 47 minutes, was how many times the president honored Americans, American soldiers, you know, from the 100-year-old guy who was in major dogfights in Korea to the helicopter pilot that was instrumental in removing Maduro, and just ordinary people that have experienced the consequences of open borders and all that. I thought it was a wonderful time of representing America and giving thanks to those who have secured and maintained our security. But he said something that I thought was interesting, and I think you pointed it out on Telegram, that he said all he wants from Iran is their word that they have no nuclear aspirations. Well, they've already given that multiple times, as you pointed out a moment ago. But the reality is they absolutely have nuclear aspirations, and in their crosshairs is the great Satan and the little Satan, that being the U.S. and Israel. Now, what did he have to say about Gaza? That was kind of an interesting little section there where the president was talking about the things that have transpired.
Yeah. So before I say that, I will just say it was very shameful. As an Israeli, I was ashamed to see that none of the Democrats stood up also to honor the veterans or the mother of the Ukrainian woman that was slaughtered in the subway in America, and so I was shocked to see that. I mean, it's one thing if you don't want to acknowledge your president, but it's another thing when you don't even acknowledge your war heroes, and if you don't even acknowledge the fact that parents should not have their kids taken from them for some surgeries that remove their organs and stuff like that. But the thing is this, okay? So President Trump, when it comes to the Middle East, he referred to two subjects, to Gaza and to Iran. In Gaza, to your question, he actually said, look, we brought all the hostages back, dead and alive. And he said, look, the war is no longer strong. It's on a much, much lower scale right now. And he also kind of complimented Hamas that they complied and dug in order to retrieve the bodies. You know, it's okay. The president's tactics are, I will give compliments to my enemies until I strike them. And so I think that Hamas knows their days are numbered as well, and the president is just going towards that direction. But it's very interesting. This president, this administration is being attacked mostly by the woke right, or I will say the woke Reich, as if he is Israel first and not America first. And the Iran war is used by them as an example as to why America is not caring for America, but cares for Israel. So the president, in his entire section about Iran, did not even mention Israel once. He actually said that not only that the Iranian regime is responsible for the killing of multiple Americans, not only that the Iranian regime was responsible for the slaughtering of at least 32,000 of their own, but the Iranian regime is also working on nuclear and ballistic missiles that can already reach Europe and will shortly reach America. He did not even mention Israel. He said, you guys, if you think it's Israel's problem, it's not. It's Europe and America's problem. It's way beyond that. These people are evil. They kill us, they kill their own, and they are still working towards capabilities to hurt us even in the future. So he's saying it's not Israel. It has nothing to do with Israel. It has to do with an evil regime that has been killing us and its own, and it is actively working to have the capabilities to not just go after small Satan, but after big Satan, which is the United States of America. And so the president made it clear, when I make up my mind about strike in Iran, it is an America first decision. It has nothing to do with Israel. And I'm telling you, Pastor Barry, if the Republicans are going to lose in the midterms, it's not going to be because of the Democrats. The Democrats are pathetic, weak, and almost insignificant at this point. The problem is the woke right. The problem are the millions that these influencers are carrying after them that believe horrific conspiracy theories, mostly anti-Semitic ones, that are actually causing them to doubt the things that their government is doing in order to defend its own people. And so I'm telling you, if the Republican Party is not going to clearly distance itself from these influencers, such as Tucker Carlson and such as Candace Owens, such as, there's even Megyn Kelly and others, if the Republican Party is not going to clearly, publicly, unashamedly denounce these people and distance itself from them, there will be a lot of problems for the Republicans in the midterms. And the Iran thing, I think that one of the reasons why the president is not exactly excited about doing something there is because of people like Tucker Carlson, who rushed to the White House once he got out of Israel from this horrific, shameful, if I can call it even interview with Huckabee, and asked audience with the president, and received one, but the presidents didn't want anyone to even see it. And it's very, very bad. And unfortunately, we see that their power, their influence, especially on the vice president. The vice president is a big friend of Tucker Carlson. His son is working. Tucker's son is working for Vance. It's a sad thing to see that. But the State of the Union made it very clear. President Trump is not just talking about nuclear. He's talking about the missile program as well. And I know that the Iranians don't even want to talk about it. Because for the Iranians, they might never use the nuclear, but they will surely use the ballistic missile because they already have been using them against us multiple times. The first time they sent missiles towards Israel, it was the largest ballistic missile attack in the history of warfare that they launched towards Israel. And so they did a couple times more after that. So if America wants to go after the Iranian regime right now, they will have to, first thing, obliterate all the missile cities under the ground with your B-52s and B-2s and all of their launchers on the ground, and at least take from them that capability. Because just 10 minutes ago, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Arakji, on his way to Geneva said that should America attack Iran, the Iranians are looking at every single American base in the Middle East as a legitimate target. And they're not going to send nuclear weapon, they're going to send ballistic missiles. That's why the ballistic missiles are as bad, if not even worse, and you have to address that problem right now. You have all the power in the world right now around Iran. We've never seen a buildup of power like that in our life. I mean, as far as Israel is concerned, we never hosted the F-22 Raptors on our soil, ever. And we already have 12 that arrived, and 6 that will arrive tonight, and 6 that will arrive tomorrow. U.S. tankers are parked in Ben Gurion Airport and in other places. Unbelievable. Not to mention your hundreds of stealth fighter jets in Jordan, in Qatar, in Saudi, and other places. So it's going to be an interesting thing. And I think I'm not a prophet. I don't want to talk. I hope I'm wrong, but a lot of people are eyeing this coming weekend as the one that it might happen.
Amir, you mentioned the woke right, and I think another moniker for them would be the wrong right. And sadly, those on both sides of the aisle are completely ignorant of the Shia eschatological picture, and they feel, and I think we saw with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, he kind of saw himself as almost a John the Baptist type character.
Correct.
Who is making a way for the 12th Imam, or the Mahdi, to finally appear. And the Mahdi has the responsibility to bring an end to the apocalypse that Shia Islam has basically introduced. And he can't come until that apocalypse happens. So, it's way bigger than just our protecting our only real true friend in the Middle East, and that being Israel. Mm-hmm. It's about watching over the world and preventing, this caliphate that they want to establish. And that's part of the anxiety, I think, between the two factions of Islam, is that they're both vying for that caliphate where their guy will be the person put in charge, who will oversee, the whole of the world, the global caliphate that they're seeking to establish. And, these types of things, I think, are important for all of us to keep in mind. And that's why we ask you to subscribe, share, comment, and like this video, as Amir mentioned, each time we do a program together, that we need to make sure we have influence over the algorithm, because when there are lots of comments, when there are lots of likes, shares, and subscriptions, this is going to push it up and expose this particular video and others like it to an audience that wouldn't necessarily join us simply by nature. So, we kind of have to fight the fight that is in front of us, and the technology that we have available to us is what's being used by the adversary, and we have to turn it and use it for good. And that is to get the word out about what the real story is behind many of the things that we see going on in the world. And Amir, you've got a special guest there in the country for today and tomorrow. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi just landed a couple hours ago in Tel Aviv, and he's now actually in a special celebratory session of the Israeli Knesset, the parliament. He just gave a speech there. Netanyahu gave a speech there, but you have to understand this is a huge deal in 2026, a huge deal. It's as big as a visit of the US president in America. First of all, let's start with the fact that India is the most populous country on planet Earth. It surpassed China in 2023, and now 1.44 billion people live there. That's a country you want on your side. It's the fourth largest economy in the world. And so for Israel to have number one and number four on our side, it's already a good thing to have. And so we know that we may not have China on our side. I think we'll never have China on our side. But we do have the other axis that we are part of. And we have to remember that India is an important country for us, even when it comes to the conflict that we have with Turkey. Technologically, Israel is way more advanced than Turkey, but Turkey can manufacture much more than Israel. It has the people. Its population is 10 times bigger than Israel. So India comes very handy for Israel when it comes to that, because we can give the Indians the technology and they can manufacture it for us. And that's one thing, let alone the fact that we're talking about an amazing cooperation. And again, I would like to take you guys all the way back to how it all began. We created a timeline for you so you can understand that. This relationship actually started in 1992 when Israel became, it has some the relations with India. And then, of course, for the longest time, we kept it in low profile because India didn't want to anger the Arab world. India was not in a place where it could afford not being friends with rich Muslim countries or having problems with Russia or China. So our relationship was there, collaboration was there, but we were like the mistress. We were like, those relationships were like in the closet. And it came out of the closet basically in 2014 when Narendra Modi became the prime minister of Israel, and Modi and Netanyahu signaled a public strategic partnership, basically, ending India's policy of concealing ties with Israel. Then comes 2017, and Modi had an historic first visit to Israel, and he solidified a strategic, technological, and security alliance. And that barefoot stroll of Modi and Netanyahu on the beach on that day wasn't just theater. It was the moment Israel became a cornerstone of India's foreign policy. And going all the way to 2018, Netanyahu then visited India and introduced the Railway for Peace vision. It's a transcontinental link from the Gulf to Haifa port connecting India, Middle East, and Europe. And then came 2020, and in a 2020 thing, Trump's Abraham Accords provided the necessary land bridge through the UAE and Bahrain for the Indian goods. And look what we save here. We saved the dependency on the Straits of Bab el-Mandab, and basically the railroads that we have now, because of the Abraham Accords, can connect Dubai and Abu Dhabi all the way with the port of Haifa. And out of the 2550 kilometers, we need 565 to be completed, and then it's already. And it's a 2,500 kilometers distance instead of a 6,000 kilometer distance. So you can imagine the importance of this thing. And then in 2023, the creation of the Indo-Middle Eastern Economic Corridor that was formally launched in the New Delhi G20 summit, positioning Israel as the hub for Europe. because all the goods and all the gas or the oil that will come from India through the Arabian Peninsula to Haifa, Haifa will be the gateway towards Europe. And between 2024 and 2026, we started implementing that phase. And despite of this war that we had, India continued investing in Israel. And the Adani Group completed the acquisition of the Haifa port, transforming it into a Mediterranean anchor of the corridor. So now you see the picture is completed. And this is something that the Turks don't like, the Russians don't like, the Chinese don't like, the Iranians don't like. And guess what? The Americans like it. Guess what? The Emiratis like it. The Somalilandis like it. The Ethiopians like it. And of course, the United States and parts of Europe like it. And that, what we're watching basically is a great victory and a great importance that we see a relationship between two countries. Netanyahu just said about an hour ago at the Knesset that Israel has never been stronger and India has never been stronger. And I think, I mean, it sounds simple, but he's right. We've never been stronger. And I think India can say the same thing. They've never been that strong. India did things even in space that many countries did not. So definitely we see the rise of India in so many different areas. Now, I will say that quite a few Christian believers wrote me and said, Amir, don't worship Modi. He's against Christians. Guys, I don't worship Modi. But I prefer to have the prime minister of the most populous country in the world on my side than on the side of my enemies. And India, for so many years, was on the side of the enemy. Thankfully, they're on our side. And that is the only thing I'm thankful for. I don't get into his faith. I don't get into his domestic policies because I don't know them. But I do know one thing. He is a strong ally of Israel. And he's one of the strongest leaders in the world, if you really think about it. Everybody needs India right now. And so, thankfully, we have all of this. And we're bypassing Russia and China. And this route is going to transform Israel from just a diplomatic island into a vital global transit hub. And remember, biblically, we always want to tie things biblically. And biblically, Israel has to thrive. Biblically, Israel has to be strong. Biblically, Israel has to cause Russia and China and Iran and Turkey to envy. And that's exactly what the attack of Ezekiel 38 is all about. And so I believe that Russia and Iran and Turkey are watching this visit right now, and they're very envious right now. And the outcome of this visit will make them even more envious. And probably the only reason why they're not coming against us right now, because they're weak. The minute America will step down and the minute Israel will be vulnerable and exposed, and the minute they will feel that they're strong enough, they'll immediately come against us. And the first reason is economic, financial. Right. And so you and I are watching right now an amazing fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And the fact that we talked earlier, a few minutes ago, about Iran waiting for the right moment to strike back, it's very biblical. Very, very biblical for them to deceive the world as if they're okay and they want peace and they don't want nuclear, they don't want this, they don't want that. And then the moment they feel that they're ready, they'll join a bigger coalition and come against us. So wow, we do live in phenomenal fulfillment of prophecy nowadays.
Yeah, we really do, Amir. And I think what you just shared is so critically important to understand, where we are in the chronology of events as they relate to the last days, the potential breakout of the Ezekiel war. And I've said in time past, we've talked about this, Russia to me was always kind of the odd man out. You got four nations that are named that are ideological in nature. They all share the same basic religious belief system, and they fall on the extremist side of that. But Russia, even though it's home to some Muslims, it's not by any stretch of the imagination a predominantly Muslim country. But now we've seen in recent days the real shift into what is actually the motivation of the Ezekiel war, as you
Yeah.
said, and that being economic in nature. And, this change from 6,000 kilometers to 1,500 miles is significant in that it puts Israel as the economic hub of tapping into the European market, which is hugely, Russia is hugely dependent upon, especially for energy related products, that European market. So this is a major, major development, I believe. And with only 535 miles to go, we're not too far away from completing that. And that
Yeah.
final dent in the hold that Russia has played on portions of Europe. We've all read about the fact that they're going to cut off natural gas sales to basically manipulate a response from different European countries and put them in a place where they're basically going to either cooperate or freeze to death. And all that is about to come to an end. So this could very well be the motivation behind all this. And I'll refrain. Well, maybe I won't. I was going to say, you named some things about India. One thing I know about India is they can answer your call whenever you
Oh, yeah.
need it,
Oh,
with
yeah.
all the call centers.
That's true.
So, Amir, you mentioned Huckabee and Tucker Carlson a moment ago. And what a shameful, again, basically slap in the face of America in the eyes of the global community, certainly in Israel, for Tucker Carlson to talk about the fact that he'd, been detained at Ben Gurion Airport and all these other things that have now been proven to be nonsense. But
Yeah.
there's a conversation that took place, obviously, and Huckabee has now responded multiple times, quite convincingly, I would add, about Tucker's visit and his position regarding the nation of Israel.
I think that Huckabee even said that I wish it was a real interview, but it wasn't. Tucker came with a long list of accusations and sort of like traps that he truly was hoping that Huckabee is going to fall into. Tucker lied most of the time. At least in one case, he had to admit that he was wrong. He had to shoot a video that he was wrong, and he had to pull his original interview, cut that part, and then upload it again. That's how much he was afraid of a lawsuit when he said that the president of Israel visited the Epstein Island, which it was a real big, lie, and then he admitted that he was wrong. But the problem of Tucker is that he never bases anything that he says on facts. He always says, everybody knows, everybody think, everybody say. Who's everybody? It's your lunatics that follows you that say that, and it's nonsense. Remember how he shamed Senator Ted Cruz, that the senator did not know how many people live in Iran. And then comes Tucker and praises Qatar for the Christian population that lives there. And then Huckabee asked him, do you know how many Christians live in Qatar? And Tucker did not know. Because the facts don't matter here. It's the narrative. And he would not even say that the Christians in Qatar has no rights. These are slaves. They have no rights to share the gospel. They have no rights to live anywhere. They have no rights to have their churches outside of a ghetto where all of them have. But he would not talk about that because it's against the narrative. Now, two things caught my attention in this whole shameful interaction between him and Huckabee. And one is that he actually doubted if I'm a Jew. And he said, I don't even know if these are the real Jews. They need to take a DNA in order for us to see if they are really descendants of Abraham. So, do you have Abraham's DNA that you can compare it? No, but the thing is this. For the Nazis, the Jews were ethnically Semitic and thus to be annihilated. But for modern anti-Semites like him, Jews need to prove their Semitism to justify our right not to be annihilated. It's quite interesting. When we were in Europe, we were accused for not belonging there because we are Semitic. When we are here, we're accused for not belonging here because we came from Europe. It's stupid, because most of the Israelis are not from Europe. They're actually coming from Asian and North African countries. Second, we all share the same DNA, by the way. Unlike any other group, I can actually do a DNA test and it'll tell me if I'm Ashkenazi Jew or Sephardi Jew, but I am a Jew. It will show it to me. And these are not pro-Israel companies. Ancestry is not pro-Israel company. It's not Jewish owned. But I will also tell you this. I wonder why he never offered the Palestinians to take a DNA test. Because I can tell you one thing, he would find out that these people are not from here. They're from every Arab country you can think of. And it's not only that the DNA will prove that, their own people say that. And it's very interesting because all he wants to do is to make a point that we're not Jews enough to be able to live here. And if we are Jews, we're not good enough to deserve this land. And then we move to the land itself, and he acted as if he knows the Bible. He never reads the Bible. If anything, it's not the Holy Spirit that visits him, it's demons that visit him, as he himself even admitted. And I think that demon not only visited him, but left something there. But I can tell you that he pretended to be a Bible believer, Bible reader. So he read in Genesis that the borders of the land that God promised to Israel are from the Euphrates to the Nile. Thus, if the argument that this is our land is biblical, we're basically saying that we deserve the entire Middle East. So Huckabee said, well, they can take it if they... Huckabee said, look, biblically, if that's the promise, that's the promise. But Israel today, as it is a democratic country that is not seeking anybody's territory. In fact, let me remind everybody, we had Sinai and we gave it back to the Egyptians. We had Gaza and we gave it to the Palestinians. And look what happened. We withdrew out of some places, even in Judea and Samaria. But I can also tell you, those days are over. Those days are over. Now, we do not want Beirut, we do not want Damascus, we do not want Riyadh, we do not want Cairo. But if they will attack us, we will definitely not hesitate to take parts of their land, because they need to know that they need to pay a price for coming against us. If our neighbors will leave us alone, we will live in peace with them. And that's, by the way, what we tell the Palestinians also. If you just sit where you are and live in peace with us, it's all we want. But if all you do is plotting day and night against us because you don't want to live next to us, but instead of us, it's not going to work. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, all I'm saying is that these are the two things I took from that interview. It was a horrific display of sheer, pure anti-Semitism in levels that the Nazis could learn from him. This man is demon-possessed neo-Nazi that has millions of followers, and I think he will have a special place in where people go when they are like that.
The hot place, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up because really, watching the things that are happening with him, things coming out of his mouth, what's happening with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro just came out and said this woman has lost her mind, and now she's got a
Correct.
entire series she's doing attacking, Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk and all these other things going on. But Amir, I think all of this is kind of the proverbial greasing the skids for what's going to happen during the tribulation period, because Paul talked about it in Second Thessalonians that there will be those who believe the lie.
Correct.
Now, again, I think it's important for us to recognize that because the duration of the tribulation period is so short, believing lies has to already be a practice prior to the coming of the man of sin who rises up and deceives the whole world. And the whole world goes after him, at least those who are not among the saints of the tribulation period. But, just this spreading of lies and misinformation has become so normal. It's just something that happens basically every day. And we're watching this happen here. Another story about AI as we approach the midterm elections. And, sadly, Amir, the vast majority of the time, the party that is the opposite of the sitting president usually takes back Congress at the midterms. And I hope that's not true. It's not true every time, but it is true the majority of the time. But the Democrats are weaponizing AI anxiety, talking about the fact that there's going to be thousands and thousands of jobs that are lost because of AI. And, it's interesting, Amir, because we've heard this same type of thing before, just simply regarding technology as a whole.
Correct.
Just the development of robots and things of that nature. And that, these hundreds of thousands and millions of jobs are going to be lost all over the world because of robotic technology. But it's also interesting that nobody seems to remind anyone that the jobs are going to be created by building the robots, or basically, the construct of this new AI system that they're trying to use to scare people is becoming, something that, again, has kind of replaced that last effort of people on the left to scare people into voting for them, as though the Democrats are going to shut down AI, which is just, again, such a bizarre strategy. But yet people are going to fall for it, as many, especially here in places like California. They've been warned that there's 100 million jobs that are going to be lost via men like Bernie Sanders. And the automation that comes from them is going to basically put everybody in the poorhouse. And, their hope is that, that they'll vote for them back into office. But the interesting thing is that most of the AI titans, so to speak, are actually left and in their political party and alignments. And yet here we see this being used to scare people into voting for them at the midterms. And again, now you've got people accustomed to believing lies. And now we've got another one that could have a very real impact on the midterm elections and change the structure of the three houses of American government.
They're always scaring people. Remember how Al Gore promised that within a few years, Earth will disappear because of global warming. And
Right.
here we are 20 years later, and things are not exactly as he said. But at the time, he scared people. And that was a tactic for them to scare people in order for them to vote for the people who really care and that are going to do the change, to make the change for the better of humanity. And they're so evil because I don't believe they really truly believe what they say. I'm talking about the leaders. I think they know exactly that they're selling lies, and that's 10 times more serious. Because as we said on Monday, there are ignorant people and they are deceivers. Ignorant don't know the truth and they buy the lie because somebody sold it to them. Deceivers know the truth and they sell the lie. And so the leaders of that party, they're deceivers. And they build on or count on ignorance and ignorant people.
Yeah, Amir, it's interesting. Speaking of Al Gore and others like him, one of the big threats and one of the scare tactics and fear mongering that they used is the rise of the oceans because of the melting of the ice caps and all this other
Yeah.
stuff that, so much is going to be flooded along the coastlines. Millions of people are going to be without a job. People will die, all this other stuff. And yet, most of these people who use that type of fear mongering live on or near the beach. Many of them even in Martha's
Yeah.
Vineyard. So again, it's just nothing but uh, fear-based
Yeah. They care
manipulation.
about the emission of CO2, but they all own jets as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Over
yeah,
500 were at the Super Bowl of these people that are,
exactly.
banging on the
And they want open borders, but they'll have the highest walls around their house.
highest fences. That's
It's
right.
the same
Yeah,
thing. It's the same thing.
yeah, sure is. I said something as we were watching the State of the Union address last night as the cabinet members were coming in. Rubio's face popped up on the screen, and I said to my wife, I said, "There's the next president." I
Oh,
hope
I
that's
wish.
true,
I hope.
but who knows what's going to happen. But he is countering Iran in the Caribbean, reasserting U.S. dominance after Maduro's fall, and he's heading to the Caribbean, specifically to the country of St. Kitts and Nevis, to reassert the president's interest in the Western Hemisphere, shortly after removing the then known Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro from power. And much of the world is keeping their eyes on what's happening in the Middle East. And I think the USS Ford is in closer proximity to the nation of Israel than it has been in the coming weeks, making a final leg of its journey. And as you mentioned, F-22s on the ground. The F-22 doesn't go anywhere where it
Exactly.
could be exposed and its technology revealed. So, I think the threat of this is the potential of this being the weekend that you mentioned earlier is quite possible. But Rubio, the speech he gave a couple of weeks back was just simply tremendous, very presidential.
Yeah.
And, watching him now head down to say, hey, you know, keep your eyes on what's going on in the Middle East because the
Yeah.
president intends to have influence over the whole of the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to ask people, regardless of what's going on here, I'm planning on getting on a plane. I mean, not regardless. I mean, if there if there is a plane, I'll get on it, and I'll hit America next week, right on time for our proximity conference. I would like to invite you all to sign up for our proximity conference. It's next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the one after. It's March, excuse me, yeah,
7th.
March 7th, exactly, March 7th. It's organized by Barry's Church, Calvary Central OC, but it is actually happening at Calvary Chapel of East Anaheim. So please scan this QR code. This proximity conference is dedicated to the Israel decree. It's based on the book I wrote, New York Times bestseller, but we're basically going to talk about the hottest topic right now, not only in current events in the world, but also as it relates to Bible prophecy. It's the issue that so many Christians are now divided on. And that's, of course, Israel. And if you don't understand Israel, you just don't understand God, if you ask me. The God of
Right.
Israel, his heart, his character, and all of that. So please sign up. We still have space. March 7th, 2026, Calvary Chapel, East Anaheim. And we still have space on Barry's tour to Israel that is coming the month after in April. Pastor Barry is leading a church of his from his a tour to Israel with his church. You can still join April 15 to 23 Israel tour of his church, and you'll visit Connect. We'll have a time of fellowship and Q&A at Connect, and I'll also join the tour here and there to be with you. And the last thing I want to invite you also is this July, we're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday on board the beautiful Celebrity Edge for
Yes.
a wonderful, wonderful prophecy conference. Pastor Barry, Pastor Bob Copney, Pastor Bob Pearl, myself, we're going to have time of worship, time of study of the Word of God, time of fellowship. We're going to have Q&A where we may even have Jan Markell join us for that conference and be with us for this Q&A. So sign up. We still have about 200 seats open, and we would love to see you in person, fellowship with you, study the Word together, and worship together. And again, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channels, like, share, comment, and these are important things to get the truth out there. There's so many fake channels, so many fake things, so many horrific lies that are spread online, and we ask you to join us in that battle to spread the truth. Yeah, I think we have another topic left. Pastor Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, we do, Amir, and it's again kind of a sad state of affairs where in Virginia, which has kind of the nickname or the moniker of the Old Dominion, there are Democrats there who are pushing for a version, basically, of protecting Sharia law called Sharia Light. And it's basically to combat rising Islamophobia in the country. At least that's how it is being presented. And it's State Bill 624 was introduced at the start of the Virginia legislative session in January, and it defines Islamophobia as it relates to the crime of assault and battery as malicious prejudice or hatred directed toward Islam or Muslims, according to the summary. And it may be tempting to just kind of turn a blind eye to this and say, well, this is just another stupid Democrat plan. But under the category of assault and battery, it takes a rather radical step of criminalizing anything that could be construed as the hatred of Islam. In other words, like many of the left-leaners do today, they equate words that hurt people's feelings to acts of violence, and therefore the punishment is covered under the same constrictions of the law as it relates to violent crimes. So if you say something derogatory about Islam, which is the practice of the Muslims, you are guilty of a crime. And it's just amazing to see in one of the original colonies, the Democrats using, again, just the opportunity to diminish the foundation that we have as a Christian nation. Yeah. And, a lot of people like to say, well, that's not true. We're not a Christian nation. We weren't founded on, Christianity. But, as Charlie Kirk would like to point out, 55 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Bible-believing Christians. So, again, that whole issue, I think, just can be put to rest as to whether or not we have a Christian heritage.
It's part of the rewriting history. It's part of reinventing facts, and they actively go to Wikipedia and websites and change everything. And once they change everything and scrap the whole true events and write their own version of it, then from now on, the next generation will only be exposed to the lie that is online and not to the truth that was there before. Yeah, it's very, very sad. But again, people will, as always, believe the lie. So it's very,
it's like
very sad.
Obama used to talk about the role of Islam in building the United States. And, statements like that, I think people gobble up. But the reality is that even with the First Amendment, Congress not establishing any law that would prohibit the free exercise of religion. Religion in the mind of the founders was Christianity. It wasn't just religion as a category of whatever it is you believe. It was talking about the Christian faith, because that's the foundation of our country. It was established by pilgrims who wanted the right to worship God without governmental interference. And it wasn't about, hey, just whatever you believe needs to be protected under the First Amendment. That's not what it's all about. It's about Christianity. And again, Amir, it's a tough time here in the States as a Bible-believing Christian to watch the things that are going on in places of powers.
Things will only get, tougher in a sense, and that's why we have to stick together. We have to watch over each other, and we have to understand that it's all been prophesied, promised, and foretold. And we shouldn't be surprised. We should be on our knees, and we should pray, and we should lift our heads because our redemption is drawing near. Yeah,
amen.
Definitely.
Amen.
Well, Pastor Barry, look, whatever we have, we can leave it for next week. It was great to have you here, and we're bracing towards an interesting weekend. Again, pray also for my flight to the U.S. And for a successful speaking tour that will begin in Colorado, continue in California, and then it will move to Arizona, and we'll conclude it in Nevada, in Reno, Nevada. All of the information is on our website. Our website is beholdisrael.org. Beholdisrael.org. And this is also how you can support the ministry. If you want to give, do not be fooled by some fake accounts to give money as if it's to us, and then send it to Africa to someone who invented some orphanage and is not really. Just go to our website. It's the only reliable and secure place to give to the work of this ministry. I want to thank you, and Barry, and let's conclude this today with the Aharonic blessing. Yevarechecha Adonai veishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha vichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance toward you and give you his peace. In the name of Yeshua, we pray this blessing. Amen.
Amen and amen. Thank you, Pastor Barry. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Share this with as many as you can. God bless you, and shalom from Galilee and from California. Shalom.
Shalom.